here's Brody Brazil.
So after days and weeks and months of people asking and wondering where renderings are for the A's potential brand new Las Vegas ballpark, wouldn't you know, they finally come to life on what probably was the very last day that they could actually come out. And what do I mean by that? Well, think about if you are going to build your own house. But of course, you need a mortgage from a bank to help fund construction. You can't go to the bank and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to build a house. I need this amount of money. The bank is going to ask some questions like, well, how big is this house? Where are you going to build it? What do the blueprints look like? Think about the A's asking for apparently $380 million of public funding from the state of Nevada and from Clark County. There's no way they could come to the table with that ask and not present at least something in terms of a location or in terms of a conceptual design. And by the way, the legislative language I still understand is not site-specific. Now, this rendering is very much site-specific, but even it comes with a bit of controversy. Yes, this is the 35-acre site where the current Tropicana Hotel sits, but boy, the A's ballpark was supposed to fit on 9 acres. And I'm not an expert here in Photoshop or construction design, but doesn't that ballpark look like it's taking up way more than 9 of 35 acres? 35 acres is that square. In fact, you know what? Somebody on Twitter did a better job of me than this. Paul Lee on Twitter sent this my way. I apologize. It's not the highest of resolution, but you understand the outer red square or rectangle is the 35-acre Tropicana site. That's what 35 acres represents. The smaller red square or rectangle on the inside, that kind of depicts the footprint or the drip line, so to speak, of the projected ballpark here, which is supposed to fit on 9 acres. And according to the math here by Paul Lee, and again, I'm not even confirming that this is exact. I'm just saying in generalities, Paul Lee mentions it's a 19-acre site for this ballpark instead of the 9 it's supposed to sit on. So my only thing here is just as you look at these renderings, and I'll give you a closer zoomed in version of the very first view, it's just that if you came out with something tangible and meaningful and a little bit more precise than borderline misleading, because the other part of this is that Bally's Corporation has already said the remaining 26 acres, they're going to develop. They're going to put a casino, they're going to put a resort there. I've heard the number of 3 different skyrise towers that they're going to build. And obviously they'll want ballpark views. So any view that you see inside the ballpark, wouldn't that kind of be blocked by the Bally's Corporation construction? Like literally right now, I'm wondering what Bally's is saying about these renderings. Like, hey, you guys just literally said you were going to take 9 acres of our site that we're giving you for free and giving you $175 million to do with, to use for your construction or whatever and development. And you're not even depicting what we will eventually be here. And you're also kind of taking up more space than anybody ever talked about. Now, this is a rendering. This is usually not how things end up looking. But my point is that even the rendering is going to give somebody who knows nothing about this project a completely different idea than what it would ultimately turn out to be. Yes, it is in the proper corner of the 35 acres. It's in the southeast corner, which is far and to the left as you're viewing it here on the screen. But the size perspective and what would also surround it is not accurate at all. I mean, there's an interview I've got from Fox 5, and Jacqueline Schultz did it. Here on this channel, you can watch what their chairperson, Mr. Soo Kim, said about the Bally's development around this stadium. It's a very big deal to them. And to be like not even depicted here, and also to be, kind of squeezed out of the entire 35-acre site. Again, if renderings had come out with the whole project, like how Howard Terminal came out with the ballpark and the development around it, you would understand, okay, here's how everything fits. This rendering, yeah, I guess it answers some questions, but it still leaves me with more questions than answers in reverse as I see it. Now, a lot of people talk about that big arch, like Wembley Stadium type design, and sure, this is supposed to be a retractable roof stadium. I'm not sure what that arch does or how that fits or what it holds up or if it moves or why it's lit or why it stands even taller than the MGM Grand, apparently by scale, but apparently none of this is to scale, by the way. What the FAA would think about having that next to the airport. I said all along that there's no way this baseball stadium would be taller than the current Tropicana. So that couldn't be an issue. There's no way this baseball stadium would be taller than the MGM Grand, or it wouldn't present a visual distraction of a certain, light emission from the site. But this begs to differ. This is not exactly what I was expecting in terms of rendering. Let me also say this. As we look at these renderings, how old do you think they are? Do you think this was just created in the last couple weeks as the A's and Bally's came to that agreement? I don't. I think these renderings, and I'm not sure if exactly there's a way to find out. Maybe there's some EXIF data on these images, but I've got a feeling that these renderings have existed for quite some time. And that's nobody's problem or fault, but maybe these renderings are actually from before the A's knew that it was only going to be a 9-acre site. Maybe they had been talking to Bally's now for about 2 years. Mr. Kim confirmed that a few days ago. Maybe these renderings are a year and a half old. And maybe that's why it takes up more land and space. And so the A's just realized today, hey, we've got to put these out because legislature is going to need to see something if we're going to ask for this public money. We can't go in with them having given them nothing. So here is something. Here's what we've got. But again, that arch, that's fine. It's different, unique. I don't know that a lot of North American stadiums feature something like that. But the scale, even from this perspective, is a little bit off. And by the way, I'm just wondering about the amount of traffic right there on the Strip, and there's Tropicana right there going east-west, left to right on your screen. I'm not making March of 2020 jokes, but it's going to be a little bit busier than that. It already is. It's the busiest hotel room intersection in the world at a 30,000 attendance baseball game, and it grows even more. Okay, a rendering on the inside of the stadium, and by the way, that view of New York, and is that the Aria down there? Is that the Cosmopolitan? I see MGM. Obviously, and Tony Kemp is rounding second base on the scoreboard. Tony, I'm sorry that you had to be included in this. I don't know that you wanted to be. I'm sorry that they chose their favorite player, Tony Kemp, and congratulations or not, you are in as that person on the video screen there. But just in terms of the view, again, I don't think it will look anything like this at all. It can't. If Bally's is going to do what it's going to do, all you'll see are hotel room towers out there in center field. And that's fine. But again, this view, just it's not even close to accurate yet. Even I can understand that now. So why would you draw it up this way? But again, maybe these are old. Maybe they didn't know what Bally's said they were going to do. There's also a really odd ode, I believe, to the Coliseum here. Look how much foul ground there is on the first and third base sides. That is way too much. No modern ballpark, especially one that needs to, cram into 9 acres. There's no way you'd have that much foul ground and that it would be circular like this in shape. Just a side story, a bit bizarre here. And last point on all of this, I've got a totally different video on it, so I'm not going to rehash all of this and bring it up, but there is no other retractable roof big league stadium that sits on only 9 acres, right? There's 7 retractable roof stadiums in Major League Baseball. There's one with a fixed roof. How do I know all this? Yeah, I'm way too deep. Tropicana Field, no relation, where the Rays play, that's the fixed dome. That's the only full dome left. 7 other ballparks have a roof that opens and shuts depending on when they need it to. And the point being here is that if you look at all of them and their footprint and the drip line, which, by the way, the A's have said that this ballpark does fit with its drip line all on 9 acres. But I can prove to you in the other videos that no ballpark of even slightly bigger sizes, none of them fit on 9. I think the next closest is in Milwaukee. American Family Field, it sits on 11.71, and even still, everything is cramped. There's very little space out there in center field from the edge of the stadium to the center field fence. The point being that no other big league team has a retractable roof stadium that fits on 9 acres. So how exactly do you explain being able to do this for the very first time? So there you go. Those are the renderings from today. And again, we've waited for these for a while. Now they're here. Some people who know nothing about this project are obviously quite excited about it and them and seeing this. Others who have been following along, like I said, have some significant questions that remain to be answered. But the important thing you know is the timing of this. Like, why did this come out today? Again, I firmly believe that because the A's are passing on their language to the Nevada legislature, they also had to include something. They also had to, sweeten the deal, so to speak, to show them, here's what we want to do, here's where we're going to do it. And at this point, like, if they do not build at the Tropicana site after releasing these renderings and moving forward in this direction, wow, I don't know where it would go from there. That's the end of this video. You made it here all the way to the final seconds. Thumbs up for that. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that I can see you next time.